Hey everybody, welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV's after show for HBO's new miniseries, The Night Of. Tonight we're talking part 1, The Beach. It's gripping, it's dark, we're loving it. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I love the intro so much.
Good. You feel the suspense building right now.
Yes.
So good. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again here to AFTERBUZZ TV. We're talking about HBO's new miniseries, The Night Of. This is the season premiere, or the series premiere, since it's a miniseries. So crazy.
So good.
Definitely exceeded my expectations, really,
Yes.
but we'll get into that. Before we get into all of that, I'm your host, Miaira Jennings, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miaira Jennings, and I am joined by these two lovely ladies that make up my panel tonight. Let's introduce ourselves.
Hey guys, I'm Abby Vega. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at _Abby Vega.
And I'm at Joelle Monique everywhere, and right now I'm on the YouTube Twitter feed, so tune in, tell us what's up, how you feel about the show. Ask questions, we're here. It was a lot to take in.
Oh yeah.
So much
to talk about.
Yeah, definitely a powerful series premiere.
Yes.
So it's perfectly done. But before we get started, I guess we should go over the background a little bit. So it's going to be an 8-part miniseries, and it's based on a 2008 BBC miniseries called Criminal Justice. I don't know if you guys have seen that one. Have you?
I have not.
I haven't either. I thought about watching it, but I didn't want to spoil.
Yeah, I get worried about
Yeah.
stuff like this.
Yeah.
I don't want anything to be ruined because you can tell it's going to be one that just keeps you on your toes. So I don't want any spoilers.
Absolutely not. But I will say that I did read up on the reviews of that series, and everything was really spectacular, which made me more excited for this one.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Right. I mean, there's a long history of taking shows from the BBC and bringing them to America and doing wonderful things. House of Cards is another really good example. So I'm excited. It seems like there's a lot of love and care put into crafting this show.
Yes, definitely. I think I read that the pilot was filmed maybe 3 years ago.
Good Lord.
So it's taken a while to come to fruition, but they've definitely been working on it for a while, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so first of all, are you guys happy that this is a mini-series instead of a long-running series? Because I feel like it's a growing trend for these types of dark, this dark content to be incorporated into miniseries rather than these long-term series, which I'm actually happy about personally, because I like that it ends quickly and it's not dragged on. But what do you guys think?
That's what I was saying, is I love sometimes shows drag on too long because they're popular, people like them, so they try to do too much with it.
Yeah.
So I think it's nice sometimes to have a mini series, and I guarantee though by the end of it, because it seems like it's gonna be one I really, really love, I'm gonna be like, no, it's all over now. But I think it's a smart choice. I feel like miniseries, I like them a lot.
And if it's going to be this stressful, it's probably good that it's only going to be one season. Because
Right?
this whole time, my heart was like, no.
Yeah.
I think the finite endings are really solid, and I think you can tell a more poignant story. And I like this kind of medium between film and television that we're getting now with these long-form stories, but that are kind of wrapped up with a nice bow. So I think it's going to be a good one.
I absolutely agree. Now, I guess we can just jump in because there's so much to talk about. I don't want to run out of time. So we are introduced to our main character, Nazir, and his nickname is Nas, which is pretty cool. So we're in New York, and first of all, I think I didn't mention this, but in the BBC version, the character was white. And now he's a Pakistani American. So I was wondering if you guys thought this added more it just made it more dynamic as far as the storyline, because we are talking about, it does touch on social relations and racial relations.
I think it certainly makes it more timely as far as talking about racial profiling.
Yeah.
And then you have like a very diverse group of cops, which I was really excited to see, because it's New York City. And so it should be diverse, which is, in TV land, we don't get a lot of diverse versions of New York. So I was really excited to see that. I think it'll be interesting to see how they decided to take that, because obviously they've already touched on racism, and once they get into the court and they start doing the profiling of him as a person, and especially the community, which it seems he's so very tight-knit with, I think that's when there'll be a lot more conversation about that kind of topic, about racism and how we deal with it, especially in our criminal justice system.
Yeah, I think it's it's good that I like that they did that, because it's touching on a subject that is so relevant and, you know, everywhere kind of right now. And so I think it'll really spark conversations, like deep, good conversations about this show. So I really, really like that they're doing that.
Me too. Yeah, especially I feel like Islamophobia is unfortunately a really big growing trend, especially right now, and with the current election coming up and with Donald Trump and all that stuff. So I feel like you said, it's very timely and it's very relevant. So I'm glad that they went in that direction. But moving on, so we see that Nas is a tutor. He's very smart, and he's tutoring a basketball player at his school. And he gets invited to a party, which is pretty cool. I'm already in love with Nas's character. I think he's so cute and charming. And
that math lesson at the beginning tells us he's clearly like very smart.
Yeah.
But maybe not.
School-wise. Yeah. He does not know how to evade murder charges, but he will teach you math. He will get it done.
I think that's why I like how they did that. They didn't spend too much time on him kind of as a tutor and stuff, but I'm glad they introduced that and showed interactions with his community and stuff, because I feel like it makes you see what kind of person he is, so then when further things happen, you have more of a emotional like connection to him, almost like you feel for him. And so I thought that was very important how they included that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We see that he's very family oriented. He comes from a seemingly traditional Pakistani family and background, so they're obviously very close, which definitely is going to affect the rest of the series, because I'm already heartbroken for them, but we'll get into that. So yeah, his friend bails on him, which sucks, and obviously he's so excited to go to the party. I would be too if I never really went out.
Yeah, you can tell he doesn't have much of a social scene.
Yeah, and all the basketball stars, and he was invited by like the nice basketball player, and he was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go hang out for like the first time and unsupervised and with the cool kids. So I was excited for him getting ready, practicing his like smooth talk outside
he was, like,
of his apartment.
Practicing introducing himself. I'm like, that is so adorable.
It is so cute. So what did you guys think about him making the decision to steal that taxi to take his dad's taxi?
I mean, obviously it leads to bad things, but at the time I feel like that's a thing that kids would do.
It's totally a thing that kids would do. I have two problems. One, you live in New York, which is one of the most easy to access public transportation systems.
So true.
You just hop on the subway, son. Like, it's right there. You have to steal your dad, and especially after we find out that his dad shares the cab.
When you find that out, it's like a little more like, come on.
You put a lot of people in jeopardy here by taking this cab. On the other hand, it's definitely something like, you know, just out of high school, like maybe freshman, sophomore of college, you're like, it'll be fine, I'll be back in a few hours, I have to go to this party, it's the most important thing. So
yeah, and you totally feel for him, because like we said, you can tell he doesn't get out much, and he was so excited, and I feel like any person who was that excited would totally, it's one of those things where you kind of know that you obviously know what you're doing is wrong, but it's just you have your mind set on what you want to do. So.
I'm sure we've all been there before.
You can relate to it.
We can definitely relate. So he takes out the cab and he's headed to the party. Some people try to hop in. He's like, no, I'm off duty. He doesn't even know how to operate the light, which is huge. Poor guy.
I know.
And finally, our girl, Andrea. Is it Andrea or Andrea? I don't remember.
I didn't even know that they said her
name. I'm going to say Andrea.
Yeah, Andrea sounds right.
She hops in, and he is just smitten, and he can't turn her away. And I'm like, man, this is the end of everything, guy. Yeah. Your life is down the drain because of this.
We were talking a little bit as we were watching the episode of this, like, kind of film noir style she has about her. Like, we only see her in the rear view, and we can only kind of see parts of her face. We don't really get a full picture of her until they're walking down the street once they're out of her cab. And she gives off a very, like, this girl is no good kind of vibe. Oh, my
gosh, yes.
Like, I don't want to, like, you know, pigeonhole her into anything, and clearly something has gone down, but she's just so creepy and speaks in riddles and is like, I'm just too sexy. I was immediately worried for Nasir. I was like, you need to get away from this chick. It's way too much for you.
Yeah, that's why it's so weird, because the way she was acting, she wasn't very personable or anything. So it kind of makes you think, what is making him even want to stay with her? But then that kind of ties back to them showing kind of how he is socially and how he doesn't have that many interactions with like beautiful girls. So at this point, I think he was just holding on to that, like, whoa, she wants to, you know, be in here. I'm gonna take this opportunity, because she's definitely not personable or someone you're like, ooh,
yeah, you're cool.
We're having a great conversation right now.
That air of mystery was really attractive to him. He's like this really hot girl who's mysterious, and I don't understand the Manic Pixie Dream Girl kind of you know situation. And I mean, at least she was kind of like asking questions a little bit later, like trying to get to know a little bit. But even that was
she's just shady.
It's weird. So that's my next question. What's the deal with Andrea? And do you think it even matters? Do you think we're just supposed to take it for what it is? Or do you think her background will come into play later on in the storyline?
I think it totally will.
Absolutely.
You think it will?
I feel like it has to. 100%. I feel like whatever led her to get in that cab, I felt something happened earlier in the night. You know, I think it's all a big thing that's going to slowly unfold, and we're going to learn more.
Yeah, she rolled straight into that cab and like didn't want to get out. And then we have this whole thing of like, I can't be alone tonight, which obviously could be like an emotional thing, but I got the sense of like, if there's a guy here with me, I'll be a little bit safer kind of situation. Right. If I have a friend and somebody can witness, and I'll be protected. It definitely feels like she was running away from something and then hiding far too much about herself personally to not have a bigger impact later.
Right. Yeah. And she also did make that comment, don't you wish you could transport yourself somewhere else? Like if something bad happens, you could just be somewhere else. So I'm like, what did you get into tonight?
I'm very, very excited to learn more about her, because in regards to that too, I 100% don't think that was just her apartment. Yeah. And so just little things. I think that there's some weird relationship that was happening with her. That with a character that we haven't, or maybe we have been introduced to. Mm-hmm. And so but I definitely think her background is gonna be a huge part of it.
Yeah, I hope so, because as I was watching this, I've seen so many other shows of this genre, and they introduce characters in ways that make you want to know more, and they never give it to you.
Gosh, so if they
don't do this to us.
You're making me nervous now. If they don't, if I'm just thinking that this is gonna happen and then nothing, I'd be like so upset.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll see. It could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of characters and things to break down. Exactly. But I'm hoping we get the courtroom drama, which is, I think, probably when we'll start to learn more about her as a person. Yeah. Is when they start doing character profiles, and she was such a good student.
Mm-hmm. Bringing in witnesses and stuff. All right. Yeah. So they go to the river. They go to the gas station, which had some key points. The guy driving the hearse saw them, and so maybe he'll come into play later on.
But didn't he also give you a weird, creepy vibe? As far as, to me, like
100%.
Yeah,
the guy did.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Not in necessarily a predatory way, but in a. Do you know more than you're saying? Just in like American Gothics. Like if you have like a long black hair and then a suit, and then you don't speak a lot, you tend to be this kind of shadowy figure around. So just based off those aspects, not really anything that we saw, but just his demeanor and the way he was dressed gave me a feeling of like, what do you know?
Well, you guys, did you notice too? He had a American flag pin on his suit.
Did he?
And I noticed that, and it kind of made me think he's some sort of government person. I didn't notice it at first,
so
but
maybe she's on the run or something.
I don't know. I got the vibe. I don't know. I noticed that like the second time around watching, and to me, they like panned across it. And an American flag is like a weird thing to have on your suit. So to me, it seemed like it was kind of showing that I think he's going to come back into play.
Oh, absolutely.
That's interesting.
I 100%.
I'm definitely going to put a little star.
They paid way too much attention to him, because even Nas, when he gets in the car, he's like, "What's that guy's deal?" And she's like, "Who cares?" But to me,
maybe they know each other already,
or he just has some significance. I don't know exactly where it's going to come into play, but I picked up.
Even that line of "Do you want to be my next passenger?" to me was like, okay,
creeper.
Yeah,
creep alert.
Yeah, so I will see him, I think, again, but I can maybe see it being a thing where we don't see him again till like the very end. Or there were a couple characters in this that I think are going to pick up later.
Yeah, that would be interesting if he did, because I definitely did note his persona, but I don't know his significance yet. So we'll see about that one. So they end up going back to her place, and they come across these two guys who are making racist comments to Nas, which really sucks. But it brings up this question that I had, because we do see a lot of different characters make these racist remarks to him. And I was wondering if you guys thought it was realistic or if it was a little bit of overkill, because I tried to write them all down, but we have Captain Bubba, Towelhead, Cheech and Chong. He was like, do you see national security? So I personally thought they were exaggerating it just to push the point that this is about racial profiling and about Islamophobia and that whole aspect of racism. But I don't know if in real life it would have been so like this. I don't know personally, but I want to know what you guys think. Yeah,
to me it felt like
you think so.
Yeah, it's just kind of the hard edge. Like, I'm from Chicago, where we self-segregate by community, and I feel like there's a lot of that like snide under your breath kind of comment making, and especially like with the Cheech and Chong comment, it felt like less racist and more like just a cop being like pushing buttons and stuff. So I don't know. It didn't really hit me as overkill. But maybe? I don't know. I don't really get it.
Yeah, it didn't really hit me as overkill either. But, I mean, you definitely notice. And I think that the big part of this show and choosing that to be, I don't know, they want to call attention to it and make a statement about it. But, like I said, I mean, I guess unless you're, that race, you wouldn't know if it's overkill or not unless it's happening to you. So I guess I'm not as... I don't know if I can give like an actual guess if that's overkill or not. But to me, I didn't watch it think, oh my gosh, they're doing a little too much. I thought it was good, but
yeah, no, I think definitely it definitely sticks to the storyline and the theme, and I think it's necessary for people, like you said, maybe people who never encounter this type of thing to be able to realize what's happening and write it into their own minds while they're watching. So I totally get it. I was just wondering if it was natural, but I mean, hey, everybody's gonna have a different experience.
Exactly.
So you're completely right. So they interact with these two guys, and as they go inside, I don't know, I really want to bring this up because I noticed this. The friend,
staring.
what's the deal? Do you think that'll come into play?
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
We even mentioned he covers for him later.
Yeah.
And they asked the dude who was being racist, like, who else were you with? And he was like, I was just by myself. And I'm like, okay, strong, silent type who's just chilling in the background. I have so many questions about that guy. Like, my initial instinct was maybe he was Muslim too, and they were having like a moment where he was like sizing this dude up and being like, I see you. Yeah. I don't know. He is a question mark.
Yeah, he was really weird to me. To me, I didn't know if maybe he had an issue that this guy, maybe he has an issue with Muslims and was pissed that like this girl was with him and he got this beautiful girl because maybe he's seen her around. I don't know. There was some sort of evil in his eye, or like it was weird. It was very weird. I guess I don't know enough about him or what. So I'm so curious to how he's going to come into play, but I definitely think he'll come into play.
Yeah, I got a dark vibe from him too. And then the fact that Trevor, who's the other guy, came back alone later on that morning to ask, in the crime scene, and that guy was gone. I'm like, where did he go? Why did he lie? Just like you said.
Yeah. Weird. There's just so much like that.
To me, there's like the other part of me goes like, if I were to say some dumb stuff early in the morning of like, and the cops were like, you need to come with us. The last thing I do is invoke the name of a friend and bring them into any of this drama
too. He was there too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think my natural inclination would be to be like, yeah, nope, just me. Please don't rope any of my friends into this. I don't need them harking on me for the end of eternity for being brought into a police station. So it could be that, but there was definitely something behind his eyes of like, no. Like, it made me uncomfortable. I was like, what is your plan? What do you know? Did you come back to get revenge? But then why not kill that guy? So many questions.
Yeah, that's the thing is it could totally just be a guy covering for his friend. And I would think that if it wasn't for that long look that they showed, they like, made a point to show that. And they could be trying to throw you off. I don't know, but they definitely made a point of it.
It's definitely a testament to the excellent writing of the series, because we are just going to question everybody we come across, which is perfect. So they go inside, they're doing a little drinking, they're doing a little drugs, they're doing the little roulette game with the hands, and I'm like, okay. So this is very interesting to me. I read so many reviews about this episode. I basically found nothing but positive remarks. But the only critiques that I found were this scene. One scene. People were like, I just don't get it. Why would he be going after this girl who wants to like do things like this?
At this point, it's got to be the drugs, and he's never.
So you think it's just the drugs? Because I was reading some of the comments, and I'm like, that's an interesting point. Like, maybe this would be the time to feel kind of uncomfortable, or do you think he's just too far in?
I also think, okay, with the mix of drugs, that already you're going to be like in a whole different. But to him, like we said, they show that you can tell he was so excited to go to this party. He had made it a point to steal a cab to get there. He was going by himself. This kid doesn't get out much. He has this gorgeous girl who is somewhat interested in him, and I think it's the mystery, you know? He's wondering, she clearly is into him at this point. She wants to hang out with him, and I think that's what kind of draws him and makes him stay.
That's
I think it's a combination of things. Like, he's young and you feel invincible at that age, and I think he's definitely aching for like independent experiences. Like when you grow up in a strict household and you don't get to go out and explore much, and then you have this opportunity and everyone's like, just join in, it'll be fun. Like, you want to be a part of that moment. And so I definitely think it was that. And then mix the fact in that he took E at the river, so let's say it takes him half an hour to get back to her place. You become in a very suggestible mood at that point. And then to mix coke and liquor, and you know, this is only the second girl he slept with. Like, it's just a whole bunch of emotions and mind-altering substances that, I mean, I can see, like, I don't want to be the loser guy who didn't want to do the blow with her. Like, it's just coke. Like, what's gonna happen? I'll be fine. It's never just coke.
That's a good point. I think I was stuck on the fact that he's a smart kid. He comes from a great family. Like, at some point, you got to make a good decision. But hey, if you never get a chance to live a little, then you can definitely be headed down the wrong path. So I get what you guys are saying.
Didn't end in murder, he'd have a great story. Like, he'd go to his friends and be like, I'm so glad you didn't even come yesterday. You won't believe it. Landed this hot chick, tried some new drugs, had a good time, got laid.
It's also like a nice point. I like sometimes when stories show this, that, you know, this kid is very smart. He is in school, great family, but he is capable of making bad decisions. He can, you know what I mean? Sometimes characters are either just strictly super good or like, but it's nice to show that there are different dynamics, and he's a good kid. So, but he can still make stupid decisions like anyone else can. So
You're right. There's definitely multifaceted characters, and he is definitely the most dynamic, and it's sad, it's scary, I love it. I love it all. So they ended up, you know, going to have sex, and he's obviously so consumed in that moment. And then we have the climax of the whole episode when he wakes up, he goes upstairs to gather his things. He's like, man, I need to go home. Like, what a great night. And she's just all bloody and dead on the bed. That was the scene that set off everything.
Well, and also too, before they went up to have sex, they make very strong notes of his hand placement. You know, at this point, she had already cut her hand, so her blood's on him regardless. You know what I mean? So there are just all these different things to show that he could very much look guilty without actually doing it. I don't know. They filmed that really well. They made a point to show like his DNA is gonna be everywhere.
Like, I don't know if you guys have watched the Serial podcast at all.
No.
So season 1 covers a story that is eerily similar to this.
Really?
Just in that, like, the facts could lead you in multiple directions, but it seems like maybe this guy. So Anand Saeed is who the first season of Serial is about, and his lawyer was talking about, he's like, the most unhelpful people are innocent people. They didn't try to cover up their tracks because they didn't do anything. They can't remember where they were because they were just going about their day. And I feel like we've definitely fallen into that territory of, you know, why not just go along with the plan? And like, your handprint is on the banister and on the knife, and then you took the knife and the coke. Why did you take the coke? Who was that for?
And that was my next question. So as he's panicking, and wow, that scene is amazing, by the way, because I feel his panic. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta get out of here. I'm not even there. But he takes the coke and he takes the knife. And so that's my next question. Why do you think he did that? So I started thinking, do you think somewhere in the back of his mind, he may feel like maybe he did it and he just doesn't remember?
That's possible.
Or do you think he just freaked out?
Okay, I definitely think that. I think since he's usually not this big party drug person, that in his head, I'm sure that kind of freaks him out, thinking, oh my gosh, I don't remember from this time to this time. Like, is this something I could have done? But I think a lot of it was freaking out too. I think he looked over there, and Yeah, you want to like shake him.
Decision.
It's just, it's just, I think it's him. Like you said, you can feel his panic.
I got like this, like I've watched a few episodes of CSI, and I know that I have to take some of the things out of the house or they're going to find me kind of mind state. And like taking the knife, probably in your best interest. Your fingerprints are all over it. Her blood is on it. Not a lot of it, but enough that it would be admissible in court. Like you could, get caught on that. But to take the coke is what confused me the most. Why do you don't need it? And I don't think it incriminates you to just have it there because she poured it out for you. I just didn't understand taking that.
I don't either.
But the knife made sense to me.
Yeah, and then also when he's getting searched, the coke, she doesn't even find the coke. So I don't know if that's even just like, I don't know if that was just like a thing to show that he just didn't.
It might be in the car though, because he had taken the knife out of his pocket at one point and put it on the dash.
That's true.
So they're gonna go back and search the cab now. So there might be coke in the car.
Yeah. So I'm curious if it's gonna be a big thing. I couldn't tell.
Man,
if it was, I don't know.
I don't know. So he flees the scene and he ends up being pulled over for a traffic violation, which is like, dang, I would be wetting my pants right now.
An illegal turn, no less. An illegal turn.
And side note, I said this, and I could be just overthinking, but that guy on the motorcycle.
Do you think he'll come into play later?
Yes.
See, and I felt like he was just a psych out. Like the all black, it's very creepy, and like it might be, but it felt more like one of those moments of like, everyone's watching me. Everyone knows what I did. I have to get out of here. And then to see someone just so faceless and not know, like it felt like such a psych out moment. If it did come back though, I do get strong conspiracy feelings though, and I'd be really excited if it did come back and be like, oh my god, it was him
fleeing the scene too.
Yeah, I mean, it could. It just, to me, there's a lot of attention put on that like weird interaction where he's like, this guy's looking at me, like, and it could totally be a psych out, but I got weird feelings about him.
I know. That will be interesting if he does come into play later on. But anyway, so they decide to take him in their cop car and go to, the scene that they just got a call from, which happens to be the house he just left.
This
and I'm
awful.
sure he's having a heart attack.
Asking the most inappropriate questions. What street is this?
He's just so green and like nervous. It makes me really sad. But that was my question. I think personally, honestly, at that point, I would just say, hey, I was here, help me out. Like, because think about the torture he's going through internally to sit there for who even knows how long, maybe an hour.
It was
2.
hours.
Like,
it had to have been.
Sit there and watch them go in and out of this house, and you don't know what they know. You don't know if they think you were involved. Like, it just must have been torture.
See, and I'd be singing the Meghan Trainor song. Like, my name is No. Like, my name is Lawyer.
Yeah.
Get me one right now. I'm not saying anything at all until I have my lawyer. Because at this point, you have to know you're screwed. Like, you're in a police car with the knife. You're at the scene of the crime. Like, the neighbor is there. Like, he didn't see the neighbor, but you should just not say anything.
It was bad. That was so hard.
It was hard.
And it's funny because I was saying this before, but right now I feel so bad because he's just so nervous. But I'm like, if he turns out to do it, I'm gonna not feel bad. But he just seems genuinely so panicked and freaked out and confused. Just a lot of emotion.
He reeks of innocence.
Yes. It's crazy.
If he's fooling us, it's a great performance.
Oh, yes.
It's amazing.
It really is.
That would be such an amazing twist, but who knows, honestly. So they end up just really, the detective sends him to the precinct or whatever. They're like, just get him out of here. He's been waiting long enough. And he probably thinks he's home free, which is kind of more sad.
Yeah.
Because he's like, okay, now I got to sit in the station, then I can maybe go home. It's like, man, come on. But, they end up keeping him there. They come back, the 2 officers, what was her name?
Her name was Cassie Wiggins.
And the other officer.
Yes.
They come back to the station, and they're going over the information with the other officer while they're trying to release Nas, and things just add up for Cassie because she's searching him.
She's like, he left in his cab. We picked him up right around the corner from there.
That moment where her face went, like, I was like, oh, and he knew. He's like, oh, no.
It seemed to coincide right as she tapped the knife on his side, too. She's like, oh gosh. And just that feeling of being trapped that we've had so long, because he's trapped inside the cop car, and then he keeps trying to leave the station, and he can't quite get the timing right there, and then to be like pressed up against the police desk, being searched with them like retelling the evidence right next to him. I was like, you have to get out. Like, you just never felt so bad for a person before.
Right.
Like,
and plus,
and as he pulls the knife out, he's describing the murder weapon, and I was like, ugh. But like we said, I think another knife's coming into play.
Right. Well,
that's
just like you said, if he wouldn't have picked up that knife, he would be home free probably. Probably not forever, but at least for a while. And he can talk to his parents and everything else. So, yeah, sad moment. He gets, snagged for that. And the detective talks to him, and he doesn't even ask for a lawyer, which is killing me.
No, the whole time.
It's killing me.
If you've never seen an episode of Law and Order, know your rights. Just know your basic rights. Like, you don't have to, to look bad for a jury. A jury won't care when you spoke. They just care about what your final testimony is. Get a lawyer.
And that's another thing that just shows his innocence. I don't know, and the way they shot that, I thought it was really cool and beautifully done. I don't know, the way that they had the mug shots and stuff, they really were making him look like a criminal,
It was uncomfortable.
Yes, it really was. And I don't know. I think that's the point though about him with the lawyer thing is it's an innocence thing. He doesn't think, at this point I think he's saying there's no way I did this, that's not me. And so he's thinking I'm fine, if I just tell the truth, that'll set me free. But he's not putting together all the DNA and stuff that they have on him. So I don't even think that crosses his mind.
Yeah. And I think, like you said earlier, Joelle, sometimes just from the detective's perspective, if the evidence is all there, maybe you're not even interested in finding out if someone else did it or if he's innocent, because you already have so many pieces to snag him for it.
And I tell you, the Serial Podcast answers so many of these questions. They talk about how it's not a police's job to find the right suspect. Police's job to put the evidence together and find a suspect, and then the lawyer's job is to determine whether they're guilty or not in a court of law. So they're just excited. Look at checking up. We did our job, guys. We are done.
Exactly. This is so easy. Yeah. This is so easy. Clearly, he is an easy suspect. It's all the stuff's adding up, but
which is the only reason that I'm probably 90% sure that it wasn't him, because it's just too clean right now. But I don't know. We really don't know, because he doesn't remember and we don't know.
Yeah. And we open up a complete, we don't even see him go downstairs. How he got anywhere after they had sex is a complete mystery. What were you doing down there? Did you just pass out getting a glass of water? Wow. Wow, and then to be left alone completely. I'm wondering, you have to wonder if there is another killer. Were they walking around score? He's just going to take the fall and I'm out.
Maybe.
Yeah, there's so many questions, and I love shows like this where they do that, where it's so written so smartly. It's just great. I love it.
Now, just taking 2 steps back really quick, why do you guys think he didn't go through with the phone call to his house when he was sitting there waiting?
Oh, when he ignored it?
Fear, because if I had to call my dad and be like, so not only did I steal your car, but I also might be a suspect in a murder case. Not sure, might be able to get out. I would totally take the road of let me see if I just get myself out of here before I have to confess all that. I just want to get the cab back and go back to my life. I really, like you said earlier, he just has no concept of what is coming because of all the things that happened last night. He's probably still foggy from the drugs.
Yeah, that's so true.
He did so much.
It's
and
still
he's
dark out.
Not done anything before. It's 6 a.m. by the time we end. So it's been
long night.
Whole event. So I just, poor kid.
I know.
He's just up a river.
He really is. So later on, he gets to call his dad, and he talks to him, and he says, this is the situation. His dad runs outside and there's no cab. And you said maybe that same cat that
It looks like the same orange tabby cat.
That cat is fast, making it from the city to wherever Nas lives.
I want to hear it for the fans, but I really feel like that was the same tabby cat crossing paths. There's a weird American Gothic mystic kind of feel to the show. Less than what we got in True Detective, which is so bogged down. Based off its area, it's in Louisiana, so you get more of that. But I feel like we don't get a lot of kind of these magical old tales in New York, but it's a really old city, so it's got some of that feel to it, and I'm excited that they're exploring that as an option of these kind of mystic figures in the background.
It's really cool. And also, I forgot to mention, what did you guys think about the lawyer, Jack Stone? He's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah,
he's
But
really cool.
obviously, he didn't know what he was getting himself into initially, which is probably the most entertaining part because now we get to see his journey as a lawyer in this homicide case, you know, so it'll be interesting.
Which he still technically doesn't have to take on, which I think is why I find him really fascinating because at first you see he's a kid and he's like, why is this kid even in here? Let me just go ask him a few questions. Poor kid's got himself, he cut a girl. They don't even give him the full story. And he's like, cut a girl? Okay, that seems weird, not that kid. And goes and then to find out like it's murder. And then the emphasis on it being Detective Box's case and how this is clearly going to be an issue because that guy's got vendettas and scores to settle. I really excited to see where they go. Like even the whole like eczema on the foot thing was like a really great character trait of him being like, I don't even care. I don't have time for appearances or what other people think. I'm here to get innocent people out. It seems like it's a really big heart, and I'm excited to see what this case does to him. I think it's gonna be rough.
He was a super cool character. I can tell I'm gonna really like him.
I was really excited when he came into the storyline because I'm like
A little bit of relief.
shaking things up.
And it was so sad though when he's like, please tell me that they didn't tell you your rights or tell me something, they did something wrong, and he's like, I can't tell you. They didn't do anything wrong. So
oh my gosh. I don't know, guys. So we're left with that. What is going to happen as they continue this investigation? What will they find? Did I miss anything?
Oh, well, another thing that I thought they did it for a reason is they showed the camera views when he was going through, and they did it again with the cop car when he got pulled over. And I felt like there was some sort of significance to showing, you know,
The surveillance.
this is getting filmed right now. I don't know what it was because when they pulled him over the second time, like they didn't do anything wrong, but they made a point to show it. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
it makes me think it's going to come back into play somehow.
There's definitely going to be a clear path of where he went and what he did that night when he had her. And I mean, it'll be interesting even to see the police officers that came earlier when he had his sign on, what they have to say.
That's what I thought was interesting.
yeah.
I wrote that down too because to me, it makes him look like he could have had some weird planned out night because he made it a point to lie to them saying, oh, it's my first week. At that point, he could have just said, you know, I took my dad's cab. What are they going to do? You know, they're not going to get him in trouble for taking his dad's
That's so true.
cab, but he made a point to lie, which I think that they're going to remember. And now that he's a suspect, it looks weird that he's lying about that little thing that he didn't have to lie about.
And that he asked for directions to a place that are far and away from where he actually ended up.
And another thing too is at that point he was complaining to the cops that the guys wouldn't get out of his car, but then he ends up taking
the girl. Yes.
So it seems like there was some sort of plan or thing. So I think that's going to come back into play.
Man. It will. It will. We will leave it at that for this episode. Excellent premiere. I can't wait till next week, but let's get into some predictions right now. See what we think is headed our way.
AfterBuzz TV.
So much.
All right, guys. So I have two specific questions for this premiere. Who do you think committed the murder? So we're just going to take some guesses. I'm going to write them down, and then on the finale, we're going to see if any of us were right. Okay?
Okay.
So that's the first one, and then the second one, will Nas be found guilty or innocent? So
I see him being... This is obviously just a prediction. But I think that regardless if he's innocent or not, they're going to have enough evidence on him and no evidence directly on someone else. He will be found guilty, even though I think that we'll figure out maybe that he isn't guilty. And that's going to be really frustrating and hard to watch because definitely with different shows like now where they show these innocent people being convicted and like things coming out later that shows that they're innocent, I can see a show maybe doing that. So I think that, and in regards to who commit the murder, I think that it's someone that we don't know yet. I think that she had some weird relationship going on with someone. Like I said, I don't think that she lived in that place by herself. It just seemed really weird and nice, and they paid attention to it. Another thing that I want to make a prediction about. I feel like that deer that they zoomed in on had a camera. I think she was scared. They zoomed in on that deer head like a couple different times for a long period of time. Too. And in my head, I was thinking, this girl maybe was into some bad stuff. She knew someone was out. She put a camera in there.
Oh man,
I don't know why I thought that, but
I don't far-fetched,
but
And I'm wondering if she even knew if there was a camera in there. I get the feeling they talk about her dad. They make a point about how he's not there and how he was a good father, but she doesn't go into a lot of details, and she's very much the mysterious woman. I think she might have some mob connections. She's got a lot of money. She lives on the Upper West Side in a house by herself. Her dad's gone. There's no mention of a mother or what she does. It all seems very fishy to me, and I think maybe she needed to go for a lot of reasons.
Yes.
Now, is Nas going to be convicted? I don't know. I'm going to be hopeful and just to be different and say no.
Okay.
That Mr. Lawyer, who is just going to do his damnedest and make miracles happen and get this kid off. That's my hope. I'm just going to go with my hope.
Okay. I'm going to say that I'm totally completely left field. I'm going to say the neighbors knows more. I'm going to say the neighbor is involved somehow. Maybe he didn't do it, but maybe he sent somebody in. Who knows? I'm just going to say the neighbor because no one else did.
I was actually going to call attention, though. I think the neighbor's kind of fishy, too.
He does have a fishy,
He did. He had something weird. And, you know, the way... I know that the glass, but he was right there at his window, like right when the glass, like, I don't know.
He was already
like
up.
he was there.
I
felt like he was watching all night. Like, I don't think it was just, you know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like, I don't know. I agree, though. The neighbor's something's weird with him.
I'm just going to throw the neighbor out there, and then I'm going to say that he's going to take some kind of plea deal.
Ooh, interesting.
Even if he didn't do it. I'm just going to say that because I keep seeing this recurring trend about plea deals and stuff like that in different shows and books and all that. So that's what I'm going to say.
That'd be an interesting turn of events. I like it.
All right. Well, we have our predictions. Let's talk about news and reviews and what we've been seeing so far about the show.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So, I mean, it has 94% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, which is awesome. I do check Rotten Tomatoes often.
Yeah.
I trust their opinion most of the time, so I think that's great. They call the show, or they say, The Night Of is a richly crafted, exquisitely performed mystery that will keep viewers enthralled and leave them devastated, which makes me so nervous and just so excited. What else do we have?
So, The Wrap reported that the first episode, which... screened early on HBO, was viewed 1.5 million times already between June 24th and July 5th.
That's crazy.
Which is a record for a sampled program across HBO On Demand, HBO Go, and HBO Now. It also made The Night Of the second most watched asset on HBO's platforms that weekend, behind only Game of Thrones finale.
That's huge.
Which is huge because Game of Thrones clearly has been on for years, huge fan base. So the fact that it was right under that is incredible.
Yeah. They also have deciders saying that The Night Of is coming on the heels of Making a Murderer, The People vs. O.J. Simpson, American Crime Story, Serial, American Crime, Fargo, True Detective, and Broadchurch. It's a brave new world for crime where we can expect the detectives, lawyers, and reporters on the case to solve nothing but reveal all. Which has got me so on edge because I don't really, it's a hate-love thing when you're watching TV and you're like, no, yes!
Yeah. And that makes me really nervous about whether or not they're even going to tell us what happened that night. You know? Are they going to pull an American Crime on us and just not even tell us what happened and we're just supposed to follow the investigation?
I will hate that.
Ladies.
I'm like glad. This is the point where I'm glad it's a miniseries because we only have to wait 7 more weeks to, have a conclusion. But I'm already so invested and into it. Yeah. So I'm so excited.
Excellent premiere. Well, like Abby said, 7 more weeks. Week 1 checked off the list. It was a great start to the series. And thank you guys so much for tuning in to this premiere of HBO's new miniseries, The Night Of. We all enjoyed it, and we hope you guys did. Please comment below and let us know what you think about the characters and the storyline and your predictions. We'd love to bring them up on the show next week. And give us a thumbs up if you liked what you saw. Thanks for listening on SoundCloud. And also, please keep the conversation going with us on Twitter. We love to talk about these shows all week long, not just tonight. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miaira Jennings. Thanks, guys.
And you can find me, Abby Vega, on Twitter and Instagram at _Abby Vega.
You can find me, Joelle Monique, everywhere at Joelle Monique. And this week on Black Girl Nerds, reviewing the new Ghostbusters and very soon the new Star Trek.
Cool. And we'll see you guys next Sunday.
Bye, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.